Howdy-ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Oilers. So, did we just see the Oilers turn the tide? Has it finally sunk in? We've seen the last two games where we've gotten a 60-minute effort. Now, there's been lulls because it was on a long road trip and they were playing lots of games in a short amount of time. So, you know, those reasons are not excuses. Those reasons do have to come into play. But this fan, at least, I was happy with the last final two games of the road trip. We saw effectively a 60-minute effort from the team. And we were rewarded with a win and an overtime loss. And suddenly there's no talk about the goalies. Amazing how that happens. You back check, you protect your goalies, you clear the slot, you get the rebounds, and suddenly our goalies don't look quite as bad as when you were leaving them hung out to dry nightly. So yeah, it's been a welcome change, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm going to have to see the next couple games to see if it's real, but the indications are that it's finally sunk in. We have to play in all three zones of the ice. We have to give a 60-minute effort. And I've been saying all year, if we got that from the team, this team will win 66 to 75% of their games. But in the first 22 games of the season, we absolutely did not get that. Absolutely no shred of a doubt about it. We were lucky if we got 20 minutes. Some nights we got 10 minutes effort. So yeah, I'm really pumped with what I saw in the last two games, and I'll be recapping those games later on in the video, but I was really pumped. Is like, if they can keep this momentum rolling, then the team is back, and it's not just the goalies. It's like, I've been very hard on Evan Bouchard mostly because the media in town wants to shove him down our bleeping throats. Same with Matt Savoy, but if you've listened to my recaps, I really haven't had much bad to say about either player because the whole team is lifting them up. By the team playing better, they play better. It's all through osmosis. So anyway, all right, so let's get started on this week's roster changes that I know of over the last week. Obviously, the big one from last week was Hyman is back, and he's playing now. Unfortunately, the downside is Noah Phillips and Curtis Lazar both got upper body injuries, and as far as Noah Phillips goes, he was just placed on long-term injury reserve, so we're not going to see Phillips for at least 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer. Lazar is still just on injury, so theoretically he can come back, but I have a suspicion he's going to be sat out until Kapanen is ready to come back. And because you got to remember, RNH is not on long-term injury reserve. He's on injury reserve. So when Kapanen comes back off of long-term, I think it's going to be Lazar that gets waived and sent down to make room for Kapanen. And it's sounding like Kapanen may be back in the next, if not this next game, the game after is what I'm hearing. So yeah, I don't think Lazar is going to be long for the team, unfortunately. Also, Jake Wallman, he had a monstrous game the other day where he took a humongous body check, and as I said in my game recap, I actually thought he was concussed. Turns out he got his leg pinched and he was having trouble putting weight on it, and that's why he was so wobbly, which gave me the impression when he was getting off the ice of being concussed. And he came back from that, and then he took a full-on slap shot to the unprotected part of his leg, and it dropped him like a sack. And he came back from that, but not for long. He had to wave the white flag, and he left that game not to return, and then he didn't play the next game. And now it's sounding like he's not going to be playing in tomorrow's game. As usual, I film this on every Monday of every week. So tomorrow's game is the Tuesday game, but this video won't be out until Wednesday. He won't be back for the Tuesday game, and it's sounding like he probably won't be back for the game after that either. So he's going to be out this whole week because we only have 2 games this week, which is going to be a real change for me. Yeah, so that's what's going on. We got Kapanen and RNH set to return. Wallman's out, Lazar's out, and Noah Phillips is out. And that's our roster moves and of course, Connor Clattenburg was called up, and he made a big impact in the first game. And I don't think he'll be staying up because as it was said, his game is not NHL ready yet, but his physicality is, and that's really what we needed him to bring in. But once we get RNH and Kapanen back, I can't see Clattenburg staying up. He'll go back to the AHL and continue to work on his hockey skills. Yeah, so that's about that. So yeah, like I was saying, I've been very happy with the product we've been getting lately, last 2 games, and hopefully it's going to carry forward. We're just going to have to wait and see. Tomorrow they play, and it's a home game, and they had a full day's rest, and then they had a light practice today, and they'll play tomorrow, Tuesday, and then they won't play until Saturday. So there's only the 2 games this week. So there's no excuses now. Like, they will be rested. They will have had a few practices to work on things that were of a concern. So hopefully we're not going to see them resort back to the 10, 20 minute games, and they will continue to give us at least a 50-minute game. If not a 60, at least a 50. But if they do that, they're going to win mass majority of their games because they are one of the top skilled teams in this league. They just don't like playing like it some nights. All right, so it's time for my favorite segment, making fun of the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, so right off the bat, because this just tickles my fancy. As of yesterday, Sunday, here is the Atlantic standings. Philadelphia in first. What the hell's going on in second? Pittsburgh, Montreal, Columbus, Washington, Florida, Buffalo. So that Buffalo is actually the cutoff for the playoffs in that conference. Yeah, it's not the Atlantic, it's the conference. It's got to be Tampa that's number 1, just looking at that list. And then number 8 is Buffalo. So who saw that happening? Number 9 is the New York Rangers. And number 10, Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, they're not lighting it up this year. They're under 500. Yeah, it's not looking good for them. It's still early. They can turn it around. I don't think they're going to this year, though. That team does not look good. Like, it looks worse than I even expected. I didn't expect anything from them. I never expect anything from the Leafs, to be honest. But yeah. So in keeping with that, we got Walmart clearance was $25. I don't know. I think it's still kind of overpriced. What do you guys think? And then this one never gets old. The Maple Leafs fans in the stands. I rag about the Oiler fans, and they drive me nuts a lot of times. Make no mistake about it. But I don't think there's a worse fan base in the NHL than the Toronto Maple Leafs. I really don't. So yeah, that's making fun of the Toronto Maple Leafs for this week. As I keep saying, it never gets old. It never gets old. I can do this all year long, and I will. All right, so let's get to the game recaps from this past week. As I said, next week's going to feel so bizarre for me next Monday because I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have 2 games to recap. And it's just going to be like, the hell am I going to fill the time with? All right, so we got the Oilers versus the Capitals. Game 22 on November 19th. What I wrote in the pre-show is Lazar and Phillips are injured with upper body injuries and will not be available for remainder of the road trip. And as we found out, Phillips is now on long-term injury reserve. Tomasek and Emerson draw back in as replacements as Oilers go 11-7. There was talk of Clattenburg being brought up, but that did not come to pass for this game. And again, if you want to see the full recaps, just take a look in my video library and you will see the full recaps of every single game. All right, so Washington wins 7-4. This was not a good game for the Oilers. Shots on goal were 28-21 for the Oilers. Again, there was way too much to cover in a 3-minute segment. So if you want to watch the full recap of all the scoring and everything that went on, again, just go visit my video library and you'll see the Oilers versus Washington game. So for this game, I had what I wrote is, so here we go again. Was it better than Buffalo? Yes, it was. But it's still the same mistakes doing us in. If you eliminate the first 2 goals that never should have happened, if Kulak and Emerson and Wallman just cleared the slot, Oilers probably win this game. Erase the horrible non-play by Bouchard. That's 3 less goals against. It's the exact same errors by the exact same players. And still looking for the full 60-minute effort. 3 stars were Nurse, 2 goals, Tomasek, a goal, and Leon, a goal. The 3 slugs for the game were Kulak, Bouchard, and the defensive zone play by the entire team. Nurse had a strong game overall, 2 goals, was physical and engaged. Tomasek had a gorgeous goal on a play he created and also almost tied it up in the dying minutes. Leon had a power play goal that ties him for the goal-scoring lead in the league. As for the slugs, Kulak was horrible in the first period. Worst I ever seen him. Bouchard was Bouchard. 0 effort when in the defensive zone. Team defensive play in our own zone has been killing us all season. And yeah, that's all I really had to say about that game. It was not a good game. It was completely winnable, but defensive errors by the same people that have been making defensive errors for 22 games. Okay, the next game up was Oilers versus Tampa, game 23. This is where it turned around, folks. Pre-show. No roster or lineup changes from last night other than Pickard in net. Listen, if the team, not just the defense, but the team doesn't show up, give us a 60-minute effort, play defensive hockey in our own zone, the result will be no different than the last game. This game went to overtime. End of the third was shots on goal were 22-33 for Tampa. Tampa was, man, were they outplaying us. But we were tired, and it was very obvious we were tired on the ice. But we were getting the effort. This is, sometimes the effort is not going to result in positive outcomes, but the effort is still obvious. Overtime. Oh my God, how did we not score? Nurse shoots, rebound increase, Rosevich can't elevate the shot, and Vasilevsky somehow gets his pad out and stops it, which heads to Tampa break the other way. Tampa goal, 3:17 of overtime. Tampa wins 2-1. Shots on goal were 23-35 for Tampa. What I wrote is, what a finish, what a finish. These are the type of games you're okay with 1 point. This is how we need the Oilers to play going forward. Anyone whining that this game is not a hockey fan. If this wasn't back-to-back, the third might have been different. It was obvious the Oilers were exhausted come the third period, hence why they only managed 6 shots from the end of the second, while Tampa peppered Pickard with 16 shots in the third NOT. 3 stars were Calvin Pickard, Regula, and Wallman. The slugs, there were no slugs in that game. We got a full effort. Truth is, Pickard was the star of this game. I gave Regula and Wallman stars for gutting it out. Most players don't return after that stuff. Regula took a puck to the cheek, a slap shot directly to the cheek. I've seen players get broken cheekbones from that. And Wallman, he took that hard hit along the boards, and then he took a puck to the unprotected part of his leg, and now he's out with a leg injury since that game. But he tried to come back. They both came. Well, Regula did come back. Wallman tried. So they get stars for the effort. What I finished off was there was no slugs. The team tried in the third, but they still battled. That's all I've been asking for. Effort, passion, intensity. This is Oilers hockey. It was the best Oiler effort all season. All right. Next game after that was Monday, November 22nd, Oilers versus Panthers, game 24. Pre-show, sad news, Noah Phillips has been placed on long-term injury reserve, and Wallman will not be available for this game and probably not the next game. They're not saying anything beyond upper body for Phillip, but being placed on long-term injury reserve means he's not available for a few weeks at a minimum. As for Wallman, I'm not surprised. Wallman took a huge hit that hurt his leg versus Tampa and then took a slap shot to the unprotected portion of his leg. He battled but was unable to finish the game, so I'm not surprised he's unavailable tonight. This means Oilers had to call someone up. Enter Connor Clanberg. From Old Word, Clanberg's a young, tough, physical 20-year-old who skill-wise is not ready for the NHL, so hopefully he has a great game, but Knobloch protects him from getting exposed. Oilers win 6-3. Shots on net were 31-38 for the Panthers. So again, this was the final game of the road trip. They were sucking wind, but they gave us a full 60-minute effort. The Panthers came on hard. They tried to take advantage of the exhaustion, and the Oilers battled back. They got 2 empty net goals, but they battled back and they worked. And that's all I've ever been asking of them. Hard-fought victory. You could see the Oilers were wearing down in the second, but Oilers bore down and gutted it out. Hopefully the team can get some rest now. This road trip is finished. Oilers now 10-9-5. 3 stars were Rosevich, 2 goals, Bouchard, 3 assists, and Skinner, 35 saves. Slugs, for the second game in a row, there was no slugs. Rosevich continues to shine. I still prefer him with the Leon and Podkolzin, but until RNH back, I think Rosevich is up with McDavid. But they really need Hyman up with McDavid and Rosevich. Bouchard played like we need him to play, helping offensively and average defensively, with no glaring turnovers or defensive mistakes. That's all he was. He wasn't a shutdown. He wasn't spectacular. He wasn't even strong defensively. He was average defensively, and that's all we've ever needed from Evan Bouchard. Bring your offense and just be average defensively. Skinner, truthfully, Skinner was only beat twice because that first goal against should have never counted. You cannot push the goalie into the net. But even still, it was a 35 save performance and a 900 plus save percentage for Stu. And extra bonus, just on TV at this time, Canadians beat the Leafs 5-3 in regulation. And that was the game caps from this week. It was, so next week we have only 2 games, and the week after we only have 2 games. So the team's got lots of time to rest up, practice, get better, and just heal up what ails them. And hopefully we continue to get the 60-minute effort. And nothing really much else to say about it. One thing I want to talk about, though, I just heard it on the radio today as I was coming in, and Stauffer was talking to Frank Saravelli. And now you got to understand, Stauffer works for the Oilers. So, of course, Stauffer is looking to make excuses for the Oilers. He always has. He loves to blame the goalies. He loves to blame Nurse. And he loves to make excuses for everything else. And that's what he was doing. And it was kind of funny because Saravelli was having nothing of it. Stauffer's like, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals twice, and they had this big long road trip. So, those are reasons for not playing well. And then the goaltending, and Saravelli was having none of this. He's like, no, other teams have gone through this. Other teams have big road trips, and look at Colorado. They're top of the league, and they're only a couple games shy of us on the road trip already. So, they didn't go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Enough with the excuses. Stop living in the past. We need this team to focus on the present and what they can do in the present. Enough of living in the past. They had a break over the summer. Yeah, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they did get over a month break. That's enough. Maybe not for injuries to heal up, because we had a few players that had to still remain on injury, like Hyman, but he's back now. But for everyone, all the other players that weren't injured, that's enough time to recover, get a breather, everything. So enough with the excuses. These guys are paid very well, extremely well. Even the bottom players of the team are making money that we all would kill for. I'm never going to see $800,000 a year in my lifetime, and that's the league minimum. So they're paid very well to come prepared. So enough with the excuses. Let's live in the present and just ask them to be the professionals that we know they are. We have one of the most skilled teams in the league. We need them to understand they are that skilled team, and they just need to show up. And they did in the last 2 games, and I'm thrilled. Those last 2 games were a joy to watch. We lost one, we won one, but they were a joy to watch because we got a full team effort. And that's all it is. Give us the effort on a nightly basis. That really shouldn't be unreasonable to ask for of any professional sport team, not just the Oilers, but any professional sport team. Asking these guys to show up and give us 100% effort when they play is not some hardship or unreasonable demand. And that's what I saw in the last 2 games. And that's what I want to see for the rest of the season. Simple as that. And then when the season's done and the playoffs are done, They can go relax. They can live the grand life. They can go in the Caribbean and they can do their weddings over in Europe and all the joys and benefits that being a professional hockey player brings to you. All the power to you. But the here and now, play the game, give us a full effort, give us your best effort. You do that and nobody, no, there'll always be a few haters. Like I saw people bitching about Skinner when he got a shutout. So, there's always going to be a few people that you can never make happy. Bob Stauffer. But for the most part, the mass majority of people are going to wrap ourselves around you and cheer you and celebrate you. And all we ask for is the effort. And that's it. Anyway, that's my video for this week. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.